welcome in a good friend of mine this morning here on BronxNet. We have Arden Franklyn with us from SB Nation, USA Today, and Fan Duel. Arden, how's it going?
Everything is good, Bobby. I can't complain. I appreciate you guys for having me on the show. Thank you, man.
So great to see you, my man. I mean, this has, of course, been a tough time for many sports reporters, not only in New York City, but around the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's just great to see you still creating some awesome content and
Yeah.
excited to talk a little bit about sports with you. I mean, right now, things may be starting to look a little better here in the Big Apple with some of the football teams. I
Yeah.
want to get your thoughts, man. Are the Giants for real?
Hey, man, I think so. The Giants were one of those teams, even back before this winning streak, crazy enough to some people, that as long as you watched them, you saw the potential that they had, right? Of course, they were losing games, and, Daniel Jones, who I like, by the way, was struggling from time to time, and they had their injuries. But you looked at this group and you saw, hey, they're competing. Like, they're not getting blown out every week. They're competing. They're creating chances to win, but they're not cashing in. So, in a way, I'm not surprised by this latest run. I'm not really surprised by their win over Seattle in Seattle. It's the NFL. Crazier things have happened, and when you look at the Giants' history, they have a thing for those December postseason runs. So this is what they do. I'm not surprised at all.
And a crazy season, too, of course, with the pandemic. But I
Mm-hmm.
think if you would have told any Giant fan that they lose Saquon Barkley in week 2 and that they would be looking at first place in December, they would be looking at you like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, right. Like if you was to say that, then they're gonna either ask, "Hey, what makes you believe so much?" or they're gonna ask what you're smoking. So, but hey, things like that happen, and the Giants are in a good position to compete. Kudos to them.
So Giants defense, I think, has been a big part of that. And I guess right now, we're speaking of defense here in New York. The Jets have been on the defensive because they get rid of their defensive coordinator
Yeah.
in week 13. So is that a fireable offense, pretty much, that meltdown against the Las Vegas Raiders with pretty much seconds to go in week 13? Do you think it was the right decision for the Jets to get rid of their defensive coordinator?
Absolutely. I would say in any other circumstances, that sort of play call on fourth down is worth firing any defensive coordinator for. Like you just don't go a full out blitz against somebody like Derek Carr at quarterback and Henry Ruggs, who runs like a 4.240 on a go route. That's ridiculous. But I personally think for the Jets, it's just a matter of, hey, why wait till the end of the season? You already know what time it is. Like Greg Williams was not surviving till 2021. This team is clearly tanking, okay? If you're a Jets fan, a loss to you is a win and you have enough reasons to celebrate. But just that play call, along with this defense's struggles all year long, unlike the Giants, in which, again, the Jets haven't had many great stretches where, despite losing, again, they were looking at least decent on defense. They've been terrible. They haven't really progressed the way any team should, throughout the course of an NFL season. So yeah, regardless if the Jets weren't tanking, that play call was the nail in the coffin for Greg Williams, and rightfully so.
Williams doesn't survive, and I think at this point, the writing is on the wall that Adam Gase needs to go to.
Rightfully so, literally, rightfully so.
Well, one team here in New York State that is surviving is the Buffalo Bills. Man, I got to
Mm.
tell you, looking back on the draft, as good as coming in as Darnold, was projected to be, or even Daniel Jones for the Giants, maybe the best quarterback here in New York in this area has got to be Josh Allen. I mean, his Week 13 performance, 375 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, and the Bills are cooking.
Yeah, Josh Allen to me is a perfect example of why folks have to be patient with young quarterbacks, and lastly, the importance of good team building. Depending on how old you are and how long you've been watching football, folks get so used to the fact that the Peyton Mannings, Tom Brady's, Drew Brees, even Dan Marino's or whoever, they used to just those quarterbacks that can make a difference for an entire organization. And they have to understand that more than ever in 2020, those guys aren't there anymore. Like, of course, you got the great talents like a Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and those guys, but those guys are not only individually great, but they're also benefited from at least being around a competent team. And that's the importance for quarterbacks. It's not only them being developed the right way, but the fact that the team around them is being built the right way. And that's what we're seeing in Buffalo. Josh Allen, is a young quarterback that's been thriving, that is definitely inching his way towards elite status. But it certainly helps when you play with a team like Buffalo that says, oh, by the way, let's trade for Stephon Diggs. You know what? Let's make sure that we're building the right offensive unit around you. Let's make sure the defense is filled with playmakers that could get you back the ball. And let's make sure that most importantly, we're putting you in a position where you can play free and you can just make plays. You don't need to carry us for all 4 quarters. You don't need to do, as a Colts fan that I would know, the Peyton Manning method, which is, hey, give your defense a 2-touchdown lead so they can finally do what they do best. You know what I mean? Like, Josh Allen and the Bills have a lot to be proud of because they not only rightfully developed him the right way, and of course Allen worked hard, but they built the right team around him, and that's why the Bills are more than likely making it to the playoffs.
Here in the Big Apple, I'm sure our Nick fans, our Net fans are, got to be excited about the prospects of maybe being better this year.
Yes.
We'll start with the Knicks. I know you cover the A10, so you got a chance to see a lot of Obi Toppin at
Yes,
Dayton.
sir.
He's the Knicks lottery pick, of course, out of New York, out of Brooklyn. What are your thoughts about Obi Toppin and how good he'll be in his rookie season for the Knicks?
I really like Obi Toppin. First things first, again, Obi Toppin is a Westchester County kid. We proudly claim Obi. It's always dope seeing a 914 playing in the NBA. We got Donovan Mitchell, Eric Pascal, and quite a few others. But I really like Obi. One of my first videos I made for Fan Duel last month was a video saying for those that are betting on the NBA draft why Obi Toppin should be picked before Denny Avaha. And that if you're betting on the draft, you should bet on Obi being picked before Denny because of the fact that Obi has an NBA-ready game. He has an NBA-ready body. And I really love the fact that he's in New York. I feel like one of the best things New York can do, and I actually just wrote about it on my own platform, AST, was the fact that they have to trust him and they have to play him. Like, I know Tibbs can be a tough coach and, everybody has to earn their minutes. Like, I get that. But Obi's one of those dudes where it's like, look, he's only going to benefit from you playing him. Let him go through his rookie season. Let him get the bumps. Let him get the ups and downs because that's going to benefit him way more than just, I barely played this year because coach said I need to, quote unquote, earn his trust.
And maybe the biggest bucket getter in the NBA is Kevin Durant. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Durant's got a chance to maybe be the comeback player of the year. How excited are you to finally see Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving playing together in Brooklyn? And do you think ultimately that they get to at least the Eastern Conference Finals this year?
First things first, I'm very excited about seeing KD back, man. I miss KD a lot. KD is one of those guys that, even though the new age NBA fan that lives online may enjoy trolling him and doing all of that stuff, he's a transcendent talent. And guys like him don't come around often, So to see him healthy, to see him doing what he can do, being 6'10", pulling it from 30, handling the ball the way he does, it excites me, especially when playing with Kyrie. Like, I'm a long-time Cavs fan, so even after LeBron left 10 years ago, I stayed because not only was I loyal, but because Kyrie Irving came the next year with the #1 pick, and he's one of my favorite players in the NBA, damn near at the top of my list. So I definitely think a healthy KD and Kyrie can take the Nets to the Eastern Conference Finals, not only because they're the best duo in the Eastern Conference, but because they do have a team. You know what I'm saying? Joe Harris can play. Karis LeVert is capable of being that third star in Brooklyn. You got to love Spencer Dinwiddie. Jared Allen's protecting the basket. And they have a young, dynamic supporting cast that's going to aid the vets and KD and Kyrie. So, I think Brooklyn should make the Eastern Conference Finals if all goes well. It'll be more of a surprise if they didn't.
Yeah, Arden, I mean, it's going to be good times here in New York, I think, with more sports being able to come back, and hopefully the fans will be able to be part of that too this year at some point.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping that so I'm starting to get the itch to cover games again. I think the only games I've covered recently were NYCFC matches at Yankee Stadium, and that was like in October, and those were my first games in like 7 months. The last games I had covered before that was the Big East tournament, and I was there that day where everything shut down, and we knew this pandemic was for real. So I'm excited about covering games again. I'm hoping to be back at the Garden. I'm definitely hoping to be back at Rose Hill Gym, and we just go from there.
Always great to get your perspective. Thanks for coming on, Arden.
No problem. Thank you, Bobby.